Call the meeting to order, the Griggs County Commission. Friday, February 8th, 2019. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, John. Dale, Mark, here. Sean, here. Troy's here. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Did you guys get a new printer or something?
No? New software. Why?
Well, the printing is way more legible than it ever was before.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Especially these numbers.
Okay.
I'm thinking I was the only one that noticed that.
I didn't know if it was me new glasses or not.
Okay.
Well, sometimes it's just a new,
Smears.
just a new
Well, these numbers.
toner cartridge will make a huge difference.
Okay. No, they just updated like the software or something like that for it. But
Oh.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Been moved by Dale to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Review the January 18th meeting minutes.
Yes.
Jenny.
It was on page 3 where we're talking about the dues for the Southeast Central Regional. It should be the cities for their 3/4 of the dues, not a quarter.
Well, each one of them pays a fourth.
Yeah, but the way it reads, it implies that the cities are going to pay a quarter
Of the dues.
Each city is.
or each city.
oh, okay.
For their individual 1/4 share.
Well, you could just say reached
Yeah,
out
because
to each of the 3 cities for their 1/4.
Yeah, you could put, yeah.
Yeah.
Reach out to the cities. For their individual.
How'd the reaching out go?
1/4 share.
We've received from 2 cities, and we're just waiting on one other city, and then we
Okay.
can pay. Okay, so right now I have it read. There was also discussion on dues, and Auditor Larson has reached out to each of the 4 cities for their
3.
3.
3. Sorry,
Should have 4. Then we wouldn't have paid it.
3 cities for their 1/4 of the dues.
Right.
Okay.
1/4 each.
We could get Shepherd in on the deal, maybe.
What?
Reached out to the 3 cities for their 1/4 share of the dues.
Sure. Okay.
Each. Well, no, share would designate each for the 1/4 share. To the 3 cities for the 1/4 share.
Okay.
Did I do it or not?
No, I don't think so, because it says that their share is a fourth.
Yeah, that's what I kind of understand.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll just say 1/4 each.
Or you
Said
could change
there's-
3/4.
Or 3/4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we said there's going to be an English test.
You studied. You'd have been late.
Have fun with phonics. Reach out to the 3 cities for their 3/4 share of the dues.
3/4?
Yeah, if they're going to be checked on.
Sounds good.
Anything else on the minutes?
Move to approve the January 18th meeting minutes with the correction and dispensed reading.
Second.
It's been moved by Dale and seconded by Sean to approve the January 18th meeting minutes as amended and dispense with the reading. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Review the bills.
There's two to be added on if we could. One is to the Office of the Attorney General for $465. And there's two to Town and Country. One is for $558.27. And one is for $4,059.44.
What's the Attorney General's for?
Scram bracelets.
Oh. Did we have a prisoner get put in jail or in the hospital down in Valley City or something? Is that an out-of-pocket expense for the county?
Yeah, anytime they're in county custody, unless they have health insurance, can they get pay for the health care, which sucks. Bunch of crap. We've been lucky compared to Nelson County because up in Devil Lake they figured out how to jump out of their bunks and break their arms so they could go to the hospital for the night.
Boy.
So they think that's where one night.
Yeah, I've had two of them up there that have been in custody in Nelson County that have wedged their arms in between the rails of the bunk beds and they jumped off. So
Is there a voucher in here?
For which one is it?
Mercy Hospital.
Those repair bills, Wayne, those are for those, that truck that we probably. Did they give us any reliefs, being able to fix anything? I mean, did they ask them, I mean, we take it down there and they fix, and we pay them and they fix it, it's not fixed.
Evidently they fixed a problem, not the problem. You know, I guess. Not very happy, but we spent a lot of hours on it.
What's TJ's for the courtroom? Is that a computer? Sam?
What? I'm sorry, what? Sorry.
TJ's for 4,114. Is that a computer for the courtroom?
I think that was the, let's see here. Make sure I get this right. These are for the, I want to say these are for the courtroom grant.
So we actually reimburse them bills. So you gotta spend the money. This is the emergency room and lab work.
Oh, it could have been a blood draw for DUI, but not at Mercy Hospital.
How was
No,
for that?
I mean, there's a list of lab work. I mean, $30, $150, $170, $50, $80, $1,910, and $450 for the emergency room visit.
You know, one thing that we probably could do before we voucher that, and before it gets paid, is try to negotiate that because most of those places, if you pay cash, they'll negotiate at 25 or 30% off that bill.
That'd be a job for the state's attorney.
Should be right. And actually, we'll do it right now.
What was this?
3 computers.
Well,
That's that courtroom facilitation graph.
Believe so, yeah.
well,
Or 75%, no, 90. 90, 10 or 75?
Kelly's gonna be in here to talk about that if you wanted to leave those out, but she'll be in here.
I can't remember what the, is it 90, 10 on that one, or is it 75?
Remember.
must have been 90, because I think the grant is $3,700. 36, 29, 22. And the grant was for 3 computers, so I'm assuming that's what it is. Can't be too many more computers in the courtroom than that.
Right. Well, the bills are split. There's 4 of them actually, but 3 are for the courtroom.
And then one's for the DPF.
Yep.
It's being taken out of, yeah.
Any other questions on the bills?
Move to approve the bills as presented with the addition of the Office of the AG for $465, Town and Country $558.20, and Town and Country $4,059.44.
You want that to be with the exception of Mercy Hospital for now?
Exceptions. Mercy Hospital for $3,080.
Been moved by Sean that the bills be paid, the vouchers approved, excuse me, with the exception of the Mercy Hospital voucher. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carried. Monthly office reports?
So with the water board, with that TBO4, will there be funds now with this tax collection period that's coming in now?
As for,
I believe they did put a levy in place, correct?
I believe so. That's what I was told. Did they? Yeah.
But will it be what's being paid now? Will it be on that, or will it be for this coming, for 19? You
I think
know,
it's for the coming year.
yeah,
for 19?
right,
yeah.
It wasn't for 18, it will be for 19.
Cause what is that, October, I believe, you have to have that in mind, just like we did in most of the things.
And they did, I think. So that 85,000, that's what's owed the water board.
Petitioners.
Yeah, the water board, the account of the water board. No, the petitioners is separate
Just
from
two
that.
entities.
No, that's separate from that.
From the petitioners. correct?
Right,
Yeah,
that's 95,000.
Right.
And they're,
This should come back from the cost share they get from the State Water Commission on the project.
So they almost have to start the project before they get any funds for that. Right.
Yeah, that's where that 85 will get reimbursed from the State Water Commission, and they give them their cost share.
So are they going forward with a legal thing then, or?
TBO4, yeah.
It always has been.
Yeah.
Oh, that's down here.
Yeah.
the
I was
change,
thinking
changing the route.
thing.
No, I think it's kind of, they have a little hiccup with
Yeah, I saw that.
government was shut down and things, we just couldn't.
And it looks like they got that berm taken out of there finally, that 1 foot drop.
To talk.
Right. Well, they made more progress than the way it looked.
Kurt Tompkins has to approve it or something.
Yeah. And he was furloughed, so they couldn't.
Yeah. Looks like the Pickle Creek is a settled issue according to the minutes here.
It is.
Ended with the fact that the 3-foot culvert is rusted, will have to be replaced. State law requires that when the culvert is replaced, it will have to meet the stream crossing standards.
I don't believe that's accurate.
When it needs to be replaced, we can ask for attorney general. State's
Well, that
attorney's
isn't right,
opinion.
is it?
don't
I
so either.
think, and Troy pointed it out to me, I think there's a misreading of that century code.
Yeah.
I think that century code is trying to protect
The county.
the county rather than to compel them.
If you do a stream crossing study and if you put in a big enough crossing to handle a 25-year flow, you will not, the county won't be held liable if somebody's building upstream gets flooded.
Yeah, they're indemnified, I think is the
Or
word they use.
downstream, I suppose.
No, not downstream.
No, they don't care about the downstream.
No, the county would still be liable for that. But I think that's why it was put in there. I don't think it was put in there to try to take a hammer and make the county,
I don't know. The
because
more I
that
read
wouldn't make
that,
any sense, because you would have to change every one all the way down.
the more I read that, the more I thought it was to protect the county, not to compel the county. So if they're right and the water's gone over that road 3 times in the last 22 years and we think that that's acceptable, we can put the same size culvert in there if we're not going to hurt something back upstream. That's how I read it. Because it breaches the road before it causes any property damage back upstream.
Evidently.
So, okie dokie.
Right. What do you think, Wayne?
Sounds good. I'd be in favor of that. I haven't read it, examined it, I guess, like that, but.
Well, I mean, if you take a few sentences out of context, you can make, you can
change the meaning.
Make yourself believe that it is compelling you. But if you take the whole thing as in its entirety, then I think you're correct. I think that's what it does. It's trying to indemnify the county against.
Release the county from liability
Yeah.
from property damage.
Yeah. I believe
That's
so.
the way it was back in, I remember what year it was, when we were having all these floods in the spring. And this one county put in the same size culvert as it was before. And FEMA was gonna require us to, do a water survey for every culvert that needed to be replaced. Well, then it was just gonna cost way too much for the counties to do that, so they dismissed that. They took that law away that said that you had to do that.
And now it's federal.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was, they went by what the state said. And the state said the counties cannot afford to do the hydraulic. So therefore, they didn't not have to do it. And, so we put that in the same size culvert.
Well, I mean, if you did that, realistically, you'd probably replace 90% of the culverts in Griggs County. if you had to have a stream study for them now, because there weren't stream studies done when they put them in. They were just, okay, well, we think this will handle it.
I've got a map on my wall in my office. I think they did when they were planting this culvert survey. They were gonna put every culvert in the county, the township, put down their culverts. The county went out and did it, put down theirs. There's this big map, and in that whole,
Is there an itemized bill?
5-foot culvert up
Well,
in the crossing,
$1,900 for something.
north of us, and then another 5 foot,
no luck.
and then
There
down
was one there.
in the yard
Let me see that.
was 236. And then when it busted out and washed off that last time, I put a 48 in the 36. Yeah. The one that goes at an angle.
Yeah.
So a little bigger than what originally was there. Because the lake can spread out, it's how it causing
Probably twice as big,
damage down there.
at least. 48 will take a lot more water than 36.
Is that 48 rusted too?
Really rusty. I don't know if it's rusted through, but it would be a matter of time that it would be rusted.
Is that a spiral?
Yeah.
Does it have flares on each end?
No.
Spiral was the cheapest to put in,
Sure.
so that's what we put in.
But even if we put a FES on the north side of the road, if it needed to be replaced, it would still move more water.
Yeah.
And then if that 3-footer needed to be replaced, put that one in at an angle too. To get it off from hitting that township road on the south side. It would be more water, but it wouldn't wreck our bridge down in the bottom of the hill. That's, I mean, we can't do that.
Do we, I suppose, well, we don't have to do anything now, but
No.
I suppose at some point in time,
When the road fails, we're gonna have to fix it.
well, and if it's to
Texas
bridge
crossing.
the top of the road, do we have to put some signage? saying
You
that,
really get the water
you know,
fast.
if road's underwater or whatever? Do you have to cross that bridge if it happens again in the next 20 years?
There's no bridge in
No, but I mean,
Usually, if the water did run over, we'd get notified and then we'd go out and put
yeah,
barricades up
Flag,
for-
close
flags.
for a couple of days and then it'd be.
and it's gone.
Yeah, that 48-inch culvert's 64% larger than the 36.
Yeah.
Move to approve the monthly office reports.
Been moved
I'll
by
second.
Dale, seconded by Mark to approve the monthly office reports. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Should we pay that voucher and then, should we approve that voucher? No?
I'll call him.
Okay.
Yeah, we can move it till next meeting.
Wayne.
Probably the person hospital does the billing locally and if they contract that out someplace.
Huh.
Yeah, it shows someplace in Chicago, but they do have someone in the building department because they had spoke with someone's voicemail.
Yep.
And one here's plug. We have, on page 25, there's a funding for reimbursement request, project BRO CNOC 0020, parenthetical 032, for a sum of $7,237.97.
Just you can use the House bill funds to reimburse the county for the bill that they've already paid back to the state for the local share for construction engineering.
Motion to approve this reimbursement request.
So moved.
Moved by Mark to approve this reimbursement request. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Paul has the contract.
Yep, like I said, sent that before the last meeting, but it wasn't like 2 minutes before the meeting, so I knew that Wayne wasn't gonna be here, and so I didn't figure you guys would act on it. I just wanted to give you guys time to look at it. So, looks like that must have been tabled at the last meeting, which is understandable. There is a typo under on page 7, where it says designated representative. I changed out the name for witness by, but I didn't change it to designated representative, so I just put my number in there, so if I change that to my name, so it's probably standard, that would be appropriate.
Where it says Chad Peterson.
Where it says Jacob Lothering up at the bottom. I apologize for that.
Page 33.
That should be you.
Yeah. When scope services and stuff are attached there with the completion dates for each phase, and completion date for preliminary plans we had February 22nd, which, I mean, I guess we've been doing some work on it already, just so we can make sure we meet that date. We get preliminary plans to Wayne for review.
Any question on the professional services contract?
Does Nelson County have their own engineer?
No.
No, we also work for them. We just got a new road superintendent. Seth Henry, I think is the one.
I think so. Young guy.
I'll make a motion to approve the engineering contract.
Been moved by Mark to approve the professional services agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion?
Yeah. At some time, if the state funding comes back, this Senate and House bill money, and that's going to be a longer term event, if it's going to be every biennium, we might want to look at hiring an engineer. Because as a percentage of that money, $3 million, a percentage of that money we spend in engineering fees, it might be fiscally responsible to have our engineer on staff cheaper than hiring outside help. But that's only if that
If
program's
it's still
still in place.
reimbursable.
So the next question there is then, could the county then use that engineer to hire out to other counties?
Well, and I can be.
Could they have shared engineering services?
Absolutely.
I can share with you that Nelson County has brought up that same idea of working with Griggs County on something like that too.
So we just have an engineer on staff.
Bruce Ellickson's been advocating that for years.
So right now, there's actually a bill at the legislature. I don't know what's going to happen with it. It originated from Trotter, I think, actually, for engineering costs to the threshold would be up to $500,000. Sounds like there might be a compromise between everybody, and it might be up. It might be raised this year up to $250 for the engineering threshold, but that still doesn't solve the issue that everybody
No, I mean,
has
if
expensive
if
engineering.
we're paying, if the county's paying out more money than they can hire an engineer for, that it's irresponsible to do that. But you have to be able to have a long-term project. But if you could have 2 or 3 counties together paying a salary for an engineer, regardless of the cost of the projects, then it would be doable.
Walsh County has their road superintendent is an engineer, and I know that she's designed projects for them. Nick West, the county engineer, road superintendent in Grand Forks County, he used to be a KLJ engineer. He worked with Nelson County when I first started. So I know there are counties that have hired superintendents that are specifically engineers for that reason.
You an engineer, Wayne?
Sometimes.
Got a model train set at home?
I don't, I always wanted one.
Matt?
Sheldon.
I know some counties that had engineers at one time, Carroll County had one for many years. And they
At what point in time do you think that'll change?
couldn't keep it busy all the time.
Right, well, that's the thing, you know, with the
Well, I
last
think-
few years, we've been busy because of the state money coming in here. But if, in normal circumstances, no, it wouldn't pay off.
What the scuttlebutt is on Bismarck, from what I've been hearing, 2020. It's either the summer 20. I think it's summer 2020 is when that pot is supposed to be full, and that money will probably be distributed to the counties again.
I think it's House Bill 1066. Is the current.
So it's something to look at.
Is it something?
Probably
that
a
happens-
discussion for a different day, not pertaining necessarily to this.
No, it just made me remember what I was been thinking about.
It isn't something that would pertain to us this next year.
Possibly.
Because it says like 2020, and we refer to it, we just go with.
Okay. Well, yeah, we
Unless something
can.
changes, then.
Yeah, who knows what they do? Yeah, you're right. Could be possibly.
There's, almost anything we do should be shared with another county. but
Absolutely.
It's a little more territorial than,
Or a bunch of the counties.
right? So, you gotta have dance partners to dance. So, anyway, the issue at hand is professional services agreement.
And then it's got a second, I believe.
It does.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean? Aye. Troy votes aye. Motion carried.
For that, we have something for the engineering position in the county.
Are you applying?
I can change it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. you know, having one engineer on staff that's split between counties, I think would work well for, you know, even a project like this where it's just a, you know, pretty straightforward, doesn't require a whole lot of survey. But if you had, you know, anything with any grading or anything that had needed more detail, it would take more than one person to do that. You know, just to throw that out there, I guess.
I talked, Dave Scogan called me a few weeks ago from Cash and Cherry in Rockford. Said the price of the Blandix is down. And the price used for the estimate of the shop in Binford was $18.80 per sheet. And now we can get it for $13.94 if we lock in, if we pay $4,000, $4,000 to $5,000. Also, the plywood price is way down. He said you can save about $1,000. He said, I said, well, that'd be $1,000 more profit for you. No, he said he would pass it on to us.
Are we done with lots and all that? Is that all straightened out yet, or?
We're not paying for lots.
But the budget's in place.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jamie was working on that, or
I've got the purchase agreement. I haven't brought it over. Do you guys want that amended purchase agreement? I can.
Well, we better not have, I don't suppose we can do it now, it's not on
Agenda.
the next meeting, yeah.
Next meeting, I can.
Or if you've got it, could we authorize it so we could present it to
Well, I suppose it's
to Lennis, so we could look at it? So you
I
have time
suppose
to
it's
look
not a
over it?
business today, though.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically just road superintendent / 911 coordinator Oyen and KLJ Johnson. So I think you're fine.
Would fit into with
Part
the
of
Yeah.
the road project.
It's
Road.
not like itemized.
road department?
That's
Okay.
kind of why I do
I
this,
can-
is just to leave it open so you guys.
Yeah, we've got to have. I don't know if I'm.
We'll
up to
wait,
you guys.
we'll wait. If that's what you think.
Yeah, I think it
Okay.
should be on something like that. Should be on the agenda. I think.
Okay.
When do we have to pay them the $4,000 or $5,000 or whatever to save the?
Since the
He
budget
said
is,
this-
is in place, can't he just present the voucher?
That's quite good. That's 25% less.
Yeah.
He would, yeah, I mean, he would present a voucher with our blessing, yeah.
It would just be in the pile, right?
do that.
You know,
He said there was 97 sheets of Blandix. And I think he said around 40, I think, of plywood. The plywood was $26. I didn't write it all down.
So that'd be
$6,000.
$6,000.
It's down $5. Little savings of about $1,000.
It's a little $4 a sheet. Less than what it was, so.
So
okay,
it's,
yeah.
$600 is $600.
Maybe this is a unique circumstance, but the government entity should never be in a speculation business. Because there's only the downside to it. We speculate, and we speculate wrong. We damage the citizens. If we speculated correctly, we didn't help many. It was gonna cost that anyway. So government should never be in a speculation business, ever. Not that they aren't, but they shouldn't be. We're not supposed to be gamblers. We're not supposed to take the risk. We're supposed to distribute the money. You and I can take risks on our own projects, but we shouldn't put the public at risk unnecessarily.
Do you think we're not gonna build the building?
Well, to continue on that, we don't have the land locked up either, so maybe
Yeah.
it's not a very good idea to proceed.
Again, it's a, maybe in this circumstance, maybe it's advised to do that, but overall, that's something that government should not be engaged in.
The property is promised, I mean,
Yeah,
it's agreed
it is.
upon. It's
We have a
just to-
verbal.
It's just to get that paperwork together and then get it researched. No, that's fine, but,
No, I mean, no, I was just bringing up, but.
yep,
I
it would
just-
be the same price as what he quoted.
And that's why
otherwise-
we went through the bid process for the materials and so forth, so.
Yeah, that's, we didn't have those clauses in there, you know, a lot of times the clauses will be in the,
Cost
it's
plus.
just price or less depending on what the product costs at the time of delivery, but I mean, that was in there.
Yep, and he just threw that up there.
Yep, he was
as
just trying to
an
help us
offer.
out,
He was
yep.
just trying to help us out if we, if it's a legality issue, then we can't.
I don't think it's illegal.
No, I don't, no, I don't think it's illegal.
Is that something we'd have to approve, Wayne, to be able to write that check to him and lock that in?
Yeah, it'd just have to be a voucher at the next meeting.
Yeah, ultimately, yeah, we have to approve it.
So we don't have to approve for him to do that or anything like that, we've already talked about. So he could do that and at his own discretion?
No,
Just if you allow me to do that,
I think you
Get
should just,
that.
I think you should just have Sam get a voucher made up for you with the particulars and we'll consider it at the next meeting.
Yeah, have cash and carry revise their,
Invoice or whatever.
their estimate and use that as a voucher and then put a prepayment clause in there and then that should be fine.
I was talking to somebody about this, sometimes this OSB gets cheap, and they thought it was because it's a perishable product, you know, and they're making it and they don't have room to put it under a roof and I can't sit outside.
Yeah, back when we worked for the big paper companies, International Paper, all them down south for 20 years. And they gear up for hurricane season with this stuff. And it sits out nowhere, it sits out on their yards, and if it doesn't move, it's gotta go, so they'll take it and bring it back in and throw it in the, you know, it's bigger chips and that stuff, they'll bring it back in and dump it into the grinder and make then a real small sawdust product out of it. Make it into another product.
Just add resin and press
Yeah,
it
so
together.
plywood lasts, but no, this stuff is perishable. That's why the price fluctuates like that.
Yeah.
maybe you don't wanna buy too far ahead.
No, as long as you put it inside, it's fine. But where they manufacture it down there, it's humid and
We all know what
Rains all the
happens to
time.
that when it gets wet.
they don't have indoor storage for it. It just sits out in huge warehouse with lots.
Okay, anything else, Wayne?
Skid steer.
So,
You can laugh at
No,
it.
thanks, I have one.
Kid Dick brought up a couple proposals for skid steer. There's, same model, same thing. One's got 2-year warranty, it's factory warranty, and this other proposal has got a 4-year warranty, so it's 2 additional years. Starts out at $33,900. Manufacturing sales is $46,010. Said there's about a $12,000 discount for government. And there's a lease program, pay so much per month. And the one is you pay so much per month, it's a lot lower payment. And at the end of the term, you just turn it back. The other one is a little higher monthly payment. At the end of 2 years, or at 5 years, you pay $100 and it's yours. So I copied a couple different ones.
Would you have a use for one?
You could sure use one.
well, I guess the more important question, is there a line item in the budget for it?
Well, I think courthouse has got some money. I don't know if there's. I said it would bring it up. It would be a lot easier to clean the courthouse. sidewalks and everything, you know, how you run a payload up there and you turn it, and it gets closer to the building. You can't see versus the skid steer, your buckets right there, you can see how close they are to the building, where if you're driving the back of the payload, you can't. We need a broom for it, and then we could broom the sidewalks and the parking lot. It would be a lot safer for the public. Ourselves down there, we would like to have forks for it because we have 250-gallon totes for our sealing, crack sealing and stuff, and it'd be a lot easier, better, safer to have a skid steer with forks on it. If you look inside the packet, there's a couple pages there that shows the payments with the lower payments, and then you just turn it back, and then there's back pages that have the payments with ownership at the end of
How,
5 years or 4 years, whatever you want.
how heavy are those totes? Oh,
2,000 pounds.
is that what they are? Are they
Well, they're
2,500?
25, they're 250
Yeah.
gallon. It'd be close to that.
What does fuel weigh? 8.6.
Use of fuel? 7.3.
It's lighter than water.
Gasoline 8.6.
6.8.
We're gonna come with that number.
On down to just over 6. Some of it, you know, with the more ethanol in, the lighter it is. So I think E85's on it.
That's why,
Under 6.
that's why it floats on water.
How can that be a 3,900 pound machine? It's only 64 horsepower.
That's a 95.
Yeah, it would be a little light without that 1,200 pound weight in the back for lifting those totes.
It's a 65.
When we lease these tractors from John Deere, can we get them with forks?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than, not the ones that just slide on the bucket, if you could get
Yeah,
it.
but you don't have the
Quick pitch.
maneuverability, you know, track.
Oh, in a big spot,
Versus,
in a little spot.
Put the totes out of the back. You know, we put the totes inside the building and then get them out of there. If we put cutting edges in the rack or whatever. Barrel of oil or. It's a pretty good price for a brand new machine.
Be fun to see if we could get evidently they went to the city with the same deal, I think. And,
I said I'd buy it if I could get it for that price. but,
Sounded like they could almost get a Bobcat cheaper than what they could even get this. I was surprised. But that's what they were telling me.
It's the thing about these things too, the door, like the Bobcat, you gotta swing the door. These, the door goes up overhead, so if you do have the arms up or something in
Yeah.
the way, you can still get out of there.
Yep. They used to make Bobcats in town here years ago. The story is that there's only one Bobcat, the rest are all copycats.
I think it should be a budgetary item for next year if that's something that we're gonna look at, because we need a lot more information than just what the cost of the machine is. Speaking from experience, having just bought a Bobcat, you're gonna spend a lot more money after you buy it than you did buying the Bobcat.
You get all the attachments?
Yeah. That needs to be part of the discussion.
Yeah. How does yours handle a big round bale? Maybe
Good.
not an issue?
Take two of them.
Really? I mean, like it isn't a little one like this then?
Well, it's this big frame, 74 horsepower, but it's the biggest frame Bobcat. It's just the smaller of the big frames. Because I didn't really know if I needed all that horsepower. If you get over 75 horsepower, then you gotta have DEF. I kinda wanna stay away from it.
Yeah, if you can.
Deaf and deaf.
So, and mine's on track, so it's
Oh.
it's more stable than those wheeled machines, I think. But you start buying brooms and forks and buckets and snow blowers, and pretty soon you spent another
It's
$25,000.
got a funny point of view.
You know, if the part you buy it up front turns, it's 5,000.
Huh?
If the part you put up front turns, it's 5,000.
Right.
Or tiller, it's
Right.
no lower. If it's doesn't turn, it's 2,500.
I think the forks were only 1,200.
Yeah,
but
they're cheaper.
but snow buckets.
4,500 for a room.
Yeah, if it turns, it's
Right. $2,000 for a snow bucket. $6,000 for a blower.
You don't have to tell me. I've got proven it over and over and over again.
We've got an old broom, we could maybe rectify it.
Yeah, just hydraulics. Those things are dangerous. Rocks fly all over.
They do an awful nice job on sidewalks, and you just got a little bit.
And sandblasting buildings and.
Yeah, they'll throw them a long
I
way.
don't even use mine, it just throws stuff all over.
And then with all the rock we have in front here, that could be a really exciting
Insurance
idea.
company would cut us off.
Yeah.
Construction reserve, we could use construction reserve.
Yeah. Man, they can throw rocks, that size about 100 yards.
I know that. Slow it down.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
I don't think anything's gonna happen at this meeting.
Want to make a motion?
It's not even Christmas.
I'm afraid that'd just be another step down the road that you're not gonna get to the end of.
I give you A for effort, but you keep us trying.
I'll take a couple sheets back, so I got it to look at, hanging on my wall.
Hang it on your wall, attempt 3.
About 5.
Well, if not for the maintainers, it might have worked last bucket, you know. So maybe this next one's your lucky one.
Yeah.
Who knows what else comes up then?
Huh?
Who knows what else comes up with by then?
Well, I don't know how restricted that prairie dog bill is gonna be either. Didn't sound like it was gonna be as tight as the
True,
previous
because
one.
I've seen some first place where they said it possibly could be used equipment too. Somebody had requested that or whatever.
Yeah, that would be,
It really made some cuts to it, or proposed cuts to it, I see in the amendments.
Oh, okay, I haven't looked at it.
So that's gotta get through first.
Preliminary stuff.
All right.
Whittling it down.
Thanks, Wayne.
See you guys.
Tomorrow.
All right, careful.
Good. Thanks, guys.
Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Hello. I'm up.
You are up.
Okay.
So that voucher that was in vouchers today, that was this?
Yes,
Okay, that's
yep.
what, that's what we figured.
So, yeah, I thought I better just pop on just to let you know that. Yeah, we were awarded the grant, and there was one voucher in there for Travis for the stuff that covers the clerk of court. The other computer I took out of the DPF because that computer is in the back and it's strictly only used for the recorder side, so I couldn't include that one in the grant. So that's it. We got, so for the 3 computers, so that's nice that that was covered. And then I'll be replacing the flags and then getting a seal in there, so, yeah.
So, you don't have a notary in your office?
And the recorder's office, no.
Oh.
A notary? No. No, Sam's a notary and Paige.
Oh, I was just looking at the monthly office report, so you don't need to have that notarized?
No. So, as a clerk of court and Christy as a deputy clerk of court, we have that comes with our title to be notary, but
Be what?
we have the ability to notarize. I mean, she's stamping as deputy recorder, so
Recorder.
if you want notarized, I mean, I can always have somebody notarize.
Oh, I was
it.
just
It's
curious. I mean,
yeah, it was.
I didn't know if this form was ours or somebody else's, but she's writing her title on there where it says notary public. I just curious. I don't.
Right. Yeah, we could cross that out too. It's basically just witnessing that that's my signature.
Well,
so,
I know.
But yeah.
Notary isn't a big deal, but.
Right. But it's up to
So
you if you want me
guys,
to.
you guys have notary stamps? No.
I, as a clerk of court, can notarize stuff. I just don't. I just don't want to. You know, I would never want to notarize a document that's going to be recorded. But it's something that comes with our title that we could. But I just choose.
So you don't even have a stamp?
Nope. I
Oh,
choose
okay.
not to do that.
I see.
So, and like we've always had notaries in the building, so it's just,
Right.
you know, they've allowed us to do that. I just, from myself, I just don't want to notarize a document I'm going to record or file. So,
Well, if you did, half the documents recorded would be notarized by you because people will know where to find you.
right.
And they're coming here anyway.
Yep. So I send them across the hall. Or
Oh, they
page.
do come in looking for notary.
A lot of people. Oh yeah, they notarize stuff for both offices, clerk and recorder. Both Paige and Sam do
Oh,
quite often.
We get
almost weekly.
we get
I would
them
say.
in our office all the time.
Oh, I'm sure at the bank. Oh, I send people to the bank too, you know, if we don't have somebody at the bank, so. But yeah. Any questions on that one? It's pretty simple.
Well,
Not much to that grant. So. Okay. Thank you.
thank you. So, Megan.
You wanted the courthouse closing?
Oh. Who made that call?
Who made what call? To close the courthouse? The department heads made their own individual call
So
to
you
close.
guys all took vacation that day?
The employees did, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
That was my question. Anybody? Now, the only other thing that John mentioned, that should probably be noticed in some fashion if you guys make that decision.
That's it.
Is there a way to let the public know? So if somebody isn't driving to town to pay their real estate taxes that day or something?
Or something, they pay a fine or whatever. You know, contact
We
Channel
do
11.
have a Griggs County Courthouse Facebook page. Most people have. That's, you know, something you can notice on there too.
Facebook? Yeah.
But there's, you can put it on the website, you can put it on Facebook.
You can put it on both of those, yeah.
I
And
could call-
actually, the Facebook gets lots of hits. And
Well,
that's what, you know, that's why I noticed a lot of businesses that closed that day, they had posted on their Facebook
But
pages that they were
You're
closed.
not gonna catch all the audience that way.
No.
Right, no.
So,
But,
I mean, the reason the employees didn't show up is it was a safety issue, I understand that. But by not noticing it, by not telling the public, then you're putting the public at risk. I know 2 people that drove here to go to the courthouse out in weather they probably shouldn't have been out in, and then the courthouse is closed. So we have to make sure that we don't do that anymore. If it's gonna be closed, fine, but you have to take the public into account also.
Would you like me to get a hold of like Valley News Live?
I think it should be done,
Next
yeah.
time. Okay.
Somebody, that's where all the school announcements
Yeah.
and stuff are.
I think there were some courthouses announced on there too.
But
Yeah, I think there was like 12 courthouses that
Yeah.
closed that day. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we had just thought, you know, it was said that each office has to make their own decision, that the courthouse never closes, so.
That's why we didn't do anything about like noticing it, is because the offices were all closed, but we didn't have the ability to close the whole courthouse down, is why I didn't.
The door was locked,
Yeah.
so it was closed.
Mhm.
Paige was here, and I should have had her open it up. Paige was here for the majority of the
Yeah,
day.
she was in the afternoon, I think.
But
Yeah.
what?
I don't get it, I think it was stupid, but no, that I said my piece. I drove to Macville, everything was open in Macville, everything was open in Cooperstown, except for the school.
There was quite a few businesses. The Cooperstown Medical Center closed, the pharmacy closed, and there were several businesses that were closed that day.
Pizza Ranch and
But-
pharmacy.
Pizza Ranch closed.
Yep,
The boutique closed.
yep. Guess whose checkbook
But, you
that
know,
affects, Kelly?
we just followed the policy. The policy manual says, you know, each person, they make that choice for themselves, and then, you know, and there was a school. I know Sam didn't have daycare, and some people just didn't, you know, make the travel, so.
No, again, that's the way the policy manual reads, but it has to be, we can't let the public swing like that, because that's, if it's a safety issue for you, it's a safety issue for them.
Mhm.
And when, by closing the offices and not telling them, then you took it one step farther. And we can't have that. And you know, it isn't the same safety issue for each employee. An employee that lives 20 miles away has a way more risk than somebody that might live across the street. So it's not one for all and all for one either. Kind of I agree with Troy. It's a little bit frustrating sometimes that just because one person gets to go, everybody should go. And I don't know how you make that policy. No one wants to. Troy doesn't, I don't, Dale, the rest of us don't want to put anybody at risk, of course. But we also would like common sense used, and I think the public would like common sense used.
Right.
And it's pretty hard to say that it was too bad for the people that live in town to get to the courthouse.
Well, for me personally, I was at home with my children. The children didn't have school. I was going to leave my kids at home alone. And I told Christy, I don't want you driving in. There's no travel advised. Don't come in. She didn't have kids, so she was at home with her, or she didn't have school. Kids didn't have school, so she's at home with her kids. So, you know, we can't be looked at just because we live in town that we should make it. Absolutely, if I can make it, I'm going to make it, but I'm not going to leave my children home alone.
No, I didn't say that. I
but-
said each individual circumstance is different.
Right.
But
And it was one of
ultimately,
those
if
days
you make
where-
the decision not to be here, by you not being here, not telling the public, you're endangering the public, and we can't have that.
But we've been told over and over the courthouse is never to close. So if you wanted in the policy that somebody here at the courthouse should let somebody know if all the offices have chosen, then that's something that just should be stated, because we just followed the policy and it's been stated over and over that the courthouse is never to close. So
It was closed.
I don't know who would.
It was closed, so somebody made the decision to
Each
close
person
it.
decided to make their own decision.
Yeah.
But
So the policy wasn't followed.
You're right. So that's your reasoning there is a little bit ridiculous, because you could say, okay, I'm going to close, and then the decision to close
Well,
the
you could-
courthouse is then of that of the employees.
Guess you can do that on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from now on if you want to.
Yeah. See, that's
Well, moving
Reasonable.
forward, if you want a policy where if each office is, then let's do that. Then absolutely we can do that.
well.
I mean, we can't change what has already happened, but we can.
No,
move
I
forward.
mean, but if someone's coming from Hannaford or Binford and wanting to go to the recorder's office and the weather's a little bit nasty, they should be able to look on the website or look somewhere and say, okay, I'm not going to go there because it's not open.
I agree 100%.
And then that's
Absolutely.
each person has to take into account their own individual safety. That's fine. We're not delegating that. But then you have to take into account what your actions and how they might influence, so how they might affect someone else.
I agree.
And it does happen. Not everybody's got Facebook
Mhm.
and access to computers and that sort of thing.
No.
So, if we can get it onto a radio or a TV
Yeah. You
station.
get the majority of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And a lot of them you will get by Facebook, there's no doubt, but to the older people, you're not
You
gonna.
know,
Right, but you're right, the cable alerts
Yeah.
and things like that,
Yep.
or the TV. Absolutely.
so should we, I think at some point, maybe you should come to us with a recommendation of which TV station you're gonna notify. That way, just the same thing that we used to do at the schools, so when people are questioning the roads, they know where to look. Or what radio station to listen to if they're gonna hear the broadcast on saying that the courthouse is closed, if there's any questions.
And I guess I've never called when you haven't been here, does each office have an answering machine?
Mhm.
So they should
Yep.
probably put on the answering machine on each office and also.
Yeah. And we have our emails too. We can, if somebody happens to send an email that
Because as you're,
Yep, I was
as
checking
you're
my
saying-
email all day that day just to make sure.
As you're saying, everybody's circumstance is different. So it could happen that the auditor's office could be open and the other one could be closed.
Right, that's
Or,
correct.
so, but somehow or another, we gotta let the public know.
Yeah. Right. And we've had that incident, this
Sure.
week is perfect, we have two in the treasurer's office that travel quite a bit
Yeah.
ways and,
Yeah?
so.
The deputy treasurer lives in Finley.
I
Oh.
know it's that way,
She lives out in the country.
I thought so. But she
I
might-
don't
I
know.
just thought she was
Yeah,
rural
I
country
think
guy.
she
I
lives
don't know.
someplace over by Finley.
I don't know, they're not married. Anyway,
So you'll get with everybody and get something in place for us?
Yeah, because I have a policy, we have a policy for the clerk's office already, so that day, when the clerk's office was closed, I had to let the Supreme Court know when those
Mhm.
offices are closed, but, so we could just do the same thing and just,
Mhm.
yeah.
I presume you guys all knew that Megan resigned. So do we have to have some conversation with NDSU now, or?
Or do they come to that? I don't know.
Because they do hiring, right?
Well,
They fill a position. We don't interview.
I would like to have a discussion on whether or not there's a position to be filled.
Someone interviewed
with them last time, I think, didn't it?
I did.
Yeah.
Did you too?
Maybe. Don't remember.
And I think there was still 4 or 5 open positions in the state already, the way it was.
There might be a county to the north that might be willing to do that.
I've already talked to them.
I've talked to them more too.
They're not very interested.
Well, I think we should at least explore the idea of maybe providing the services that are necessary with the monies we have rather than going in with NDSU. What is the main duty of the extension agent now? It certainly isn't consulting on crop issues and things like that to any degree. Everybody's got their own crop consultant, or they are their own crop consultant.
Every seed company and elevator has them.
So, and then you're down to the
4-H.
4-H, and maybe this can be done in-house with a secretary and some people that are in the 4-H, and maybe we're done with the burden of this.
I think there is some guidelines even to be the 4-H coordinator as far as education and those sorts of things you're supposed to have.
Heartbeat, I think, is all.
Yeah, I think I found out at the last meeting, it's a little more than that, but I did go to the 4-H when they met here on Tuesday. Tuesday or so they met, and their council. And I think they're gonna come maybe with a recommendation in March for us to consider.
Yeah, I just think that government is supposed to provide services that benefit the majority of the citizens in the county. And I don't think the county agent fits that bill anymore. But there's quite a few services that are still provided in the county that don't benefit the majority either.
It isn't certainly the need what it was 80 years ago or 40 years ago.
No, and I think without a county agent, the 4-H program is not going to die. It's going to go on.
Yeah. Yeah, I would hope so. I would hope so.
Well, I think it has been the last year or so.
Mhm.
I think it's been running fairly independently. I think they've been using the secretary, the 4-H secretary, the extension secretary for some of the bookwork part of it.
Paperwork
Yeah,
and
paperwork.
what needs to happen.
But I think just as we should try to consolidate with other counties, I think when we presented with the opportunity, we should try to then, if we not consolidate, we should try to do away with services that don't meet whatever we deem the expectation of that service should be. And personally, I think this one's run its course. I think the $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 that these county taxpayers spend to have a county agent could be better spent elsewhere. Or not spent at all.
It's worth consideration.
That's all I'm asking, is that when given the opportunity here,
Yeah.
we don't just jump right back in and say, where's our county agent?
Right. Old social services building, I can't remember what that was.
You guys wanted that on the agenda from last meeting, I think, to talk about like.
I think the museum was,
Museum one.
Oh,
and I think we talked quite a bit. I talked quite a bit with them, and we started talking about 2 different sites, and that never works very well. If we can, we talked a little bit about possibly renting some space for some things that we have that probably should be in vaults. The museum does, and they'd possibly be pretty interested in something like that. Now, I don't know if there's I think the city has some issues too with what they have as far as what should be in vaults and those sorts of things. I know you've mentioned before, John, that maybe this thing should be kept and we could use that as storage for our own stuff. I'm not so sure that isn't right. And
I think that was Dale that said,
That
well,
brought that up.
if we're gonna give it away, why don't we?
That's right.
keep it, yeah. If it is a block building, it could be made, it's fairly fireproof, it's got a vault. I don't know what we need to put in there though,
I don't either. And what we could, or if, that's a whole other thing when you start renting out space again.
I wish that thing had been moved. I don't think we want that building to take care of.
No, I don't.
It's
believe
another
we do.
site again, you know?
Well, I mean, then if it's down to those issues, then price shouldn't be much of a factor. Then we should auction it off and let it go.
Okay.
You know, this is, I'm probably guilty of what I talked about earlier, speculation in government.
Yeah.
Put it up for auction and take our butt kicking on it and be done with it, or keep it, and just make a decision, do one or the other, because if it's just sitting there and we're doing maintenance on it and not utilizing it for anything,
And if we aren't now, we will be. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just a given.
So we put it out on bids?
And then it's back on the tax rolls.
You know, we already got enough stuff to worry about. One less building would be just fine, I think.
Suppose we could try to tear it down, but the state historical society let us
Who built it? Was Metropolitan the one who built it? They're gone, so yeah, they're. We'll just try it, see what happens.
it's not getting more valuable sitting.
No, you're right.
Put an overhead door in the back for Wayne's Bobcat.
Need some Danish logic. Let's put it up for bids then.
No.
I don't know. I think you're right. I think we just put it up on. You guys wanna think about that for another meeting or another couple meetings?
Is
Then we could probably
Stacy
do that.
still has it listed?
It's on there right now. It's on the agenda right now.
How long is her contract for? Are we
I don't know.
subject to that contract? For a year? Usually they're 1 year things.
Let me see if I still have her email in here.
When did we list it? Like August or July or something like that?
Oh, I thought it was longer ago than that.
Was it?
August.
We renewed it in August.
I think so.
Is it 6 months or a year?
Mm. We renewed it 8/21. And it's extended to 8/21 of 19, so a year.
Well, is she actively trying to sell it?
I don't know.
Maybe you should talk to Stacy and see if there's anybody thinking about it.
Okay.
And then we can, I don't know, should we have her come to the next meeting?
Yeah, I suppose.
See what her thoughts are. She's been talking to people. We don't know what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Old courthouse, new courthouse.
Do you still want me to keep trying to pursue peaceful removal? Or are we gonna give up on that option? Of the old courthouse?
The Historical Society, you mean, or what?
Yeah.
Did that letter get sent?
Well, I mean, right now it stands where the Historical Society wants us to get with NDSU and get a preservation plan in place before they decide whether or not we can raise the building.
Right. Did that letter get sent?
I never got a letter.
Which letter?
From last meeting?
Oh. No, you were working on something, weren't you?
Mhm.
That's right, I forgot.
No, this was Mark said he wanted a year to try and
Mess with it?
Yeah.
Do you want me to mess with it for a year, or should we just not bother?
Well, I mean,
I can call the guy at NDSU, we can go through those steps and see what he,
it's strictly speculation, but if we don't take the steps, if it ever gets to the point where we have to have someone else intervene between us and the State Historical Society, whoever the intervener is, the moderator, the mediator, is gonna say, well, did you guys
Try.
make an attempt, right?
that's right. Okay?
Okay.
So the second part of that is, then we should put this thing for sale. If you looked in the paper, and that's really the Sentinel Courier in that article, she seemed to imply that we hadn't tried to sell it, or to try to find another owner for it.
It's collateral on a
I
loan.
was gonna say, can we sell it?
Of course not. Of course
There's
you
a
can.
lien on
Of
it.
course you can, but you can't prove that point until you put it for sale and then be told you can't sell it.
Well, if we had a buyer, they might release the lien on it.
Well, I think all we need to do is write a letter to the Bank of North Dakota and ask if it can be sold. I think they will say no, they won't release it. And
Or let them have it.
Or let me, yeah.
don't make the payments and let them foreclose.
It's secured on a UCC 1A, I think.
Yes.
No, just the UCC. UCC 1. It should have been a 1A, but they didn't use the right form. So it's all a block 5, including all the buildings.
Yeah, it
So-
wasn't excluded.
No.
So it was included with this building on the properties of one.
Yeah. Until at least 2021, if we had the resources to pay it off in 2021, everything past that is callable, but we're not gonna have the money to do it.
So I guess it depends on how much patience Mark has to try to.
So you want me to call the Bank of North Dakota too then,
You can do that.
No.
and ask for a release?
No, I don't think you can do that. That would take action of the commission.
Okay.
But you can certainly try to follow through with what the Historical Society has demanded. NDSU, if they're on board with this now, is that right?
We haven't talked to them yet. Yeah.
The Bank of North Dakota would not need us. They don't need to know, we don't need to talk to them, I should say, unless somebody said, yeah, well, I'd sure like to buy that. And that would have to be,
See, so here's what we're up against. The county needs to prove that there's no reasonable alternative to tearing it down, Steckler said. They can't prove there is a reason it can't be saved. They're already saying we can't prove it can't be saved. They haven't shown us there is no other alternative. We can still see alternatives. They haven't explored. Why haven't they showed those to us? They haven't given us alternatives.
There you go.
The county will have to make a proposal in writing requesting to tear it down that shows all other options have been exhausted, she said. Then the Historical Society administrative staff would accept or reject the request. So it isn't like we do this stuff and then you get to tear it down. We do this stuff and then that just gets to a point where they make a decision. And from the tone of this, you know what the decision is going to be. Doesn't mean you don't have to go in a bureaucracy. Doesn't mean you don't have to go through the steps of doing it.
right. So, can we dig out the old estimates on repairing it?
Yeah, we can do that.
And
One more thing just to get on the record. Lisa Steckler, Historic Preservation Planner with the State Historical Society, said, "The historical nature of the old courthouse outweighs the county's desire to demolish it." The county's desire to demolish it was as a result of a vote.
Majority of the people voted.
Right. That's the most absurd statement that a bureaucrat could make and didn't realize what you said.
So maybe the state wants to buy it.
It's federal.
If it's such a
Well, it is a
historical-
beautiful building.
Yeah, but if it's such a historical landmark that outweighs everybody's wishes here, or the majority of people's wishes here,
Would that, maybe that's a request that should be proposed. If the North Dakota State Historical Society would like to purchase the Griggs County Courthouse.
Well, I don't think they have to purchase it. Sounds like they own it already, the way they're talking.
Well, fix it up.
They must, if they can outweigh the wishes of the citizens of Griggs County who actually own the building, then they must think they have ownership of it.
We can sell it for $1 and we come out ahead.
So I'll quit talking before you don't have patience to deal with them.
so you wish me to to continue with reach out to the NDSU and see how far I can get with that. And then after that, I can report back in 2 weeks. We'll see where we gotta go from there. Okay?
Yeah, but I mean, no matter what, I think we're going to preserve it in some form.
Absolutely.
And it is a beautiful building, and it probably should sit there, but this is a financial problem, and the citizens said tear it down. It doesn't matter what any of the rest of us think.
And
We have to comply with what they said they want done.
I would hate to see it end up and go the way of so many farmsteads that you see sit empty in the county.
Well-
And you just watch them die a slow death. And,
we have to get in front of that because part of the covenants is it can't be demolished by neglect.
yeah.
So we need somebody to get on board here before the windows start falling out of it. Because you know it'll happen.
If nothing happens, it'll. And yeah, right now there's things in there that could be preserved. I know that the museum has talked about that they would like to have.
Oh, the whole building
Yeah.
should be preserved. We can't afford it, but there's all kinds of things that can come out
There's
there.
Yes.
salvage places that
Yeah.
use most of that stuff.
Right, and it can be done on video
Woodwork,
and
floors,
pictorial
doors.
and actual items out of there, but we can do the best we can, but we don't have the money to save the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay.
But if we let it get where it needs a bunch of work, we're gonna get leveraged. The same people are telling us we can't tear it down, we can say, well, look at what you're doing, you're in violation of the covenant. And no,
We need to tuck point it and board up the windows and fix the roof or get it the hell out of there.
Yeah, right, but if we get to the point where all that work needs to be done, and the people that are telling us need to be done are the same people that let us get it out of there, you know what the answer is gonna be.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And then you're bent over a barrel. Or the people are bent over a barrel.
Right.
Future business?
One other thing for Old Courthouse, New Courthouse, Brian is going to be on vacation February 28th till the March 1st.
I doubt if it'll snow then.
Wishful thinking.
Sam's across the street.
Yeah.
You
Let's
could-
contact either Tom Dahl or Tim Yerkson. Does Tom have a brush?
No.
I thought
One of the two
kid
do.
was what we were gonna do.
Jerry's got a Bobcat too.
Oh,
Jerry Ralph does the
And he
social
does
services.
strip up there
locations.
if you want to have him. No, we just gotta have somebody so that they
I
know
thought
what's
that's who we were
going.
gonna call because they were already, yeah.
Okay?
Did Brian look at the proposed site for that chandelier?
We went and looked, we found the inspection
No.
hole that's up there, but we didn't go up there that day.
Okay.
We need a long extension ladder to get up there. It's in the judges' chambers.
Access to up above.
Yeah, yeah, and we can see what's up there. And we need to get that chandelier out so we know what kind of weight we're talking to. But I think whatever we're looking at, I think we should be able to make something work. It's not like we're putting in a truck hoist. So,
Okay. Future business?
Move we adjourn.
Been moved by Sean that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at 4:04 PM. February 8th. Next meeting will be Friday, February 22nd at 2:30 PM.